We are back with Tinky Weisblat. You know, rhubarb, it's one of New England's best kept secrets.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
No, because we're about to uncover that secret. Because it just grows sometimes wildly all around New England.
It's really hard to kill. Even I, the worst, I swear, gardener in the world, I have this rhubarb that keeps coming up. But I don't actually use my rhubarb. I use the rhubarb next door that's much better taken care of. My friend Dennis. So
all right. Well, thanks,
so
Dennis,
sweet.
for this rhubarb.
Yes, Dennis, we really appreciate it. So we're going to make a rhubarb crumble because it's so easy. This is the kind of thing you make when somebody's coming to dinner and you find out at like 5:30.
They say, hey, can I come on over? And
yeah,
then
and
you
you're
freak
like,
out.
oh gosh, maybe I should have a dessert, because most of the time, I don't know about you guys, but if it's me or just family, you know,
Yeah.
a piece of fruit is dessert. But
Exactly,
you
yeah.
want to be a little fancier.
Chocolate chips in the fridge. That's
Exactly.
But I
guess.
wouldn't think rhrubarb crumble. I would think that sounds like I wouldn't know where to
Difficult.
start.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you start with the rhubarb, and you chop it up.
Like celery? It almost kind of reminds me of celery.
I don't know whether it's related to celery. It may well be. It's related to buckwheat, I know, and it is celery-like in its consistency.
Not in its taste, though.
No.
Not in its taste. And rhubarb is, how do I love rhubarb? Let me count the ways. It's hearty, it responds well to other flavors. You think of the strawberry rhubarb combination. I've done it with pork chops, I've done it with chicken, I've done it with all sorts of things. So we're gonna, okay, you're gonna chop. But let's, Ashley, would you like to start with this? This is our crumble topping.
Sure. What's in here?
That is, at the moment, just flour and butter and cinnamon. If you wanted to, you could substitute in, for the flour being more healthy, some oats. Some of it, anyway, some nuts. But I just did the straight flour.
I don't blame you.
And then when that's sort of mixed up, usually I do this with my hands, but I wanted to spare you guys.
Oh. Well,
or at
this
least
is
throw
working
some
okay.
gloves on.
Throw in the brown sugar, pardon me.
Brown sugar.
And then all that happens is this stuff goes in the bottom of a pie pan. We're going to pretend that we're doing this.
Okay.
And then we put that crumble topping on top, and and you put it in the oven, 375, 400 for half an hour.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, and you were saying, too, people shouldn't, if they have a stock of rhubarb, just take a bite. It does not taste good.
You can try it. It's very, very...
You just told me it didn't taste good.
It doesn't taste good, but you can. It's not going to kill you.
It tastes terrible.
It's very tart. But when you cook it, it sweetens slightly, and when you sugar it, it sweetens even more. This is stewed rhubarb I have where they're for you to taste. And I'm going to go get the crumble.
Yeah, I would hope it tastes a whole lot better than this. Oh, man.
Now, usually I put in cinnamon. This is just plain rhubarb and a little sugar.
Okay.
So taste
Tell
away.
me how that is.
Infinitely better than the raw.
Whoopsie. Sorry, Tinky. I messed up your crumble. You said
worry.
you're the world's worst gardener. I'm the world's worst baker.
You should be wearing your little mass appeals.
I should be.
Okay, pardon me. I'm going to scoot in between you guys.
There's our crumble.
There's our crumble. Maybe we'll put it on the stove
I think
top
so.
to protect it.
So there we go.
I've got a little
It's got a little oomph.
tart to it. That's
But
really yummy.
this is going to be less tart because it's got more sugar.
Oh, good.
Well, let's serve it up. I would love a bite.
So this is your
And we all
basic
learned
rhubarb
a
crumble.
great cautionary tale today. Don't eat the raw rhubarb.
Well, I had a friend who was a maple syrup producer, and he used to dip rhubarb stalks in maple syrup. But
see, that would be
I've never
nice.
done that. There's a fork over there if you want to, or
Okay,
just use
perfect.
your spoon.
And that's, here you
This
go.
is for Seth.
Thank
this
you.
out.
Looks like I could have cooked it another minute, but that's all right. We're
Looks
on
like
live
little
TV.
apples.
But
Almost.
we want the juice on the bottom, right? Or do we want it all to evaporate
Well,
out?
eventually, if I had cooked it longer, it would have bubbled more, and there would be less juice on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
But it's fine.
Ash, you mind handing me a fork? Right underneath you.
Rhubarb crumble is amazing.
Isn't
Really?
it good? It's so easy. You can make it with peaches. You can make it with apples. You can make it with pears, probably. I've never done it, but why not?
It's amazing
And
how,
it's
how
so
different.
See how fast that was to do?
It
I mean,
is.
really.
Yeah,
great.
really, it was fast.
So do we have time to talk about picking rhubarb?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so here's how we pick rhubarb. My favorite story that I learned from Florette, my next door neighbor, who was crazy.
How many friends do you
I was
have?
gonna- how many neighbors? Dennis
Many
and
friends
Florette and
Dennis
Bailey.
actually lives in Florette's house. Florette is no longer with us, but her memory lives on. So
Yeah.
you go out to the garden with a knife.
Okay.
You take your rhubarbs. They're these long stalks, like we just saw, and they have these giant, like elephant leaves. And you pull, sort of at a slight angle, but more or less horizontally.
Like tug of war?
Yeah. Well, they come out pretty easily. If you pull up, they break, or
don't
you
want
pull
that.
out the roots.
Okay.
But if you pull out this way, you get the actual rhubarb leaf. Then you take your knife, you chop off the leaf. You put it in the garden again to mulch your rhubarb plant, and also because, do you remember this from last year? Why do we not eat the leaves?
If they're as bad as this, I know why.
No, they're worse. This won't kill you.
That'll kill you?
They are poisonous.
Get out of here.
So we
You
don't.
know more. You know a lot about gardening.
All right.
No, I know what people tell me. But Florette, Florette was one of those persons. She told you you did it, and she was like rhubarb, strong and tart and tenacious, and like the New England winters, and
I bet you're right.
Oh my God,
Tinky,
she sounds like a cool
Love
person,
it. And
just
later
like
on the
you.
show, rhubarb
This is
tea,
so good.
right?
absolutely.
So you don't want to miss that. And if you want this recipe, mymassappeal.com a little bit later today.
I love rhubarb.
Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're infusing rhubarb into tea now. Just when you thought it was all about pie, you can do so many other things with rhubarb tea. How do you get started?
Well, you take the chopped up rhubarb. We chopped up rhubarb earlier. You put it in a saucepan, and the recipe that's going to be online will say 6 cups, however much rhubarb you have. It really doesn't matter. It's all a proportional recipe. And you bring it to a simmer. You really don't want it to boil if you can avoid it. And you cook it very gently, stirring occasionally for 10-12 minutes till the rhubarb softens. And this is what we have here, the rhubarb in the water.
Seems like a little bit gelatinous, almost.
Well, rhubarb has all sorts of marvelous properties. So we're going
So
to
that's pretty easy to do. Just
see
make
if
sure
I
it doesn't
spill.
boil.
Then we strain it through cheesecloth.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm spilling on you guys.
That's
Isn't it a good
okay.
thing this is the last
I
segment of the
am a
day?
huge fan of rhubarb,
It's
so
the end
it's
of the
totally
show.
fine.
So that sits, and we're gonna move on quickly because you want to give it plenty of time to strain.
Now, what do you think about, should you smush it or just let it go naturally?
I smush it slightly. You're really not supposed to smush it. But
Okay.
I'm like a pushy person.
Yeah, a little
so
smush
a little
didn't hurt
smush.
anybody.
That's
so
right.
when you finally strain it out, it looks like. Do we see this pretty thing? Can you hold
We
that
can,
up?
yeah,
Pink
look at this.
lemonade is what it
This
looks
a little
like.
bit
pretty
like pink
pink
lemonade.
thing.
I want to know
So
what
we
it
have
tastes
our
like.
pink rhubarb juice. Now this is a 3-step recipe, but you can do every step the day before, the night before, 2 nights before. So that's part 1. So would you pour half a cup, of rhubarb into our measuring cup, please? And we're
Okay.
going to pour it in that
Go.
Half a cup
lovely
of this?
server that says Mount Holyoke College, my alma mater. Hi, Mount Holyoke.
Oh, how much half a cup?
Stop.
Oh,
stop,
half a cup, there we go.
Ugh,
Okay.
Into here.
It's not a
okay.
very big carafe. Mount
No.
Holyoke needs bigger carafes.
If you're
Okay.
watching,
Then we have a sugar syrup that's not a heavy sugar syrup, and again, you can adjust it to taste. This particular sugar syrup, 3/4 of a cup of sugar to 2 cups of water. If you want a little more sugar, a little more.
little
You
more,
just
yep.
bring it to a boil for 5 minutes, turn it off, and cool it.
And pour it
Another
in?
half cup.
Oh, okay, so we'll measure it
oh,
out.
we're going to measure it, okay?
Just so
Another-
that the proportions are right. It's basically 1 part of rhubarb juice, 1 part of sugar syrup, and 2 parts of tea.
Easy enough. While we're mixing this all up, Ashley, if you wouldn't mind finishing this up. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the post office, because they're thinking about not bringing the mail to your home. There's a bill going through that in the next 10 years might switch it up a little bit. What would you think if your mail was no longer?
Well, it would make me sad because I live way out in the country. And think about the gas. I know that they're just worrying about the federal budget, but if you think about the gas that would be used for everybody to drive somewhere to get their mail. Now, if you live in an apartment complex, that's fine because you walk over and you get it. But if you don't, we're going to stir our thing.
Then it is kind of an inconvenience.
difficult.
And you
I
are
think,
using,
and it uses a lot of gas.
A lot of gas, right.
Think of all those people
I
all
would
over
pick it
the
up-
country.
I'd pick it up weekly if I could, if I had my druthers. Either way, we asked a lot of people out there, and they responded in droves. Sarah said, "It's sad. My 3 boys love getting the mail out of the box." It's true. When I was a kid, I used to love running out and getting the mail from my folks.
I know, it's true. And Aunt Lynn said it might work for SIPs less than 2,000 people, but even then the building would have to be huge, meaning the post office, right?
As always, almost every day we post a question on our Facebook page. You can always respond to it. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And we'd also like to thank our friends at Jerocher Florist. Check out these flowers. How nice is this?
I
They're very
love this
pretty.
arrangement. Isn't it
I think there's
beautiful?
some birds of paradise in there.
So tropical.
Is that what the
and-
flower's called? I think so.
I think so. It makes you feel that summer's here.
It
That's
does. It's
exactly
true.
what it makes you
Tomorrow
feel
on
like.
Mass Appeal, we're going to show you where you can take your kids to learn and have some hands-on fun this summer.
Plus, if you're looking for independent senior living, we're going to show you everything Liberty Manor has to offer. This tea is delicious. Our recipe's on our website, and we'll see you tomorrow.